Hi, this is Allison from the River Center Branch Library, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make an anatomically correct heart embroidery just in time for Valentine's Day. Here's some other examples. If you picked up a kit from the River Center Branch Library, you should have a set of instructions, a survey that you can fill out after you're done with this craft to let us know what you thought about it, and also be entered into a monthly raffle prize drawing, some embroidery threads and a needle, masking tape, an embroidery hoop, some white fabric, a printed out template, and some transfer paper. You're also going to need a pair of scissors and a pen or pencil. The first thing we're going to do is create our design, and here are some images that I found on Pinterest for inspiration. So you can go look online or you can come up with your own. These are anatomically correct heart designs with embroidery. Some of them have flowers, some of them have words, some of them are just little abstract designs. So once you find your inspiration and decide how you want to make your embroidery, you can get your templates. You should have a template with an anatomically correct heart, as well as some text that you can use if you want to. You don't have to. Or you can make your own. You can print these. You can just print out anything from online. You can print out text to trace over. This is just regular copy paper. So once you have your template ready, you'll need to get out your piece of fabric and lay it flat. On the center of the design, you're going to take your transfer paper and it's going to go face down with the solid black side down. So the side with the text goes up. And just kind of put it in the center of your fabric, because you're going to want it to be at least centered enough to where you can put your embroidery hoop over it later. Take some masking tape and secure this down to the fabric. And then place your design on top of the transfer paper and use some masking tape to secure your design. Now you'll take your pen or pencil with a decent point and you're going to draw over the design with a good amount of pressure so that the markings come through to the fabric. But you need to remember that all of the markings from the transfer paper are going to be permanent markings on the fabric. So make sure that you are drawing where you're going to embroider over. Once you've got your design traced, you can take off the carbon paper to make sure that it transferred, and it looks like this did transfer pretty well, so I can see the outline. And if you want to add any other little designs, you can reuse this carbon paper several times. So if you want to add some text, you can get your text templates and say you want to maybe move it around. You can cut out pieces of the text. You can cut smaller pieces of your carbon paper. And do the same process with the solid side facing down. You can arrange it around your design. Alright, so now we've got our design done, and the next thing we're going to do is prepare the hoop. So you'll notice that your hoop has a screw at the top of it. You're going to unscrew this just to loosen it. You don't have to unscrew it all the way. And separate the two pieces of the hoop. And now you're going to lay down the hoop, part of the hoop that does not have the screw on it. That's going to be the bottom half. And then you'll take your fabric with the design on it and lay it over that first part of the hoop, making sure that your design is centered. And then you're going to take the top half with the screw in it and wiggle it down on top of that. So at this point, just pull your fabric kind of tight, and once you have your design centered where you want it, you can go ahead and tighten the screw so that the fabric stays in place. Now we need to prepare the thread and needle. So you're going to start with threads that are about 16 inches long. They should be pre-cut in your packet to that length. That's a good length to be working with. But you'll notice, if you look closely at your strand of thread, that it's made up of smaller threads. So there's 6 smaller threads inside of one regular strand of embroidery thread. And we're going to be working for this project with 2 of the 6 strands. So you'll need to separate out those 2 strands. So very gently, just kind of fray the top of it and slowly pinch one of the strands and gently separate it from the larger strand. And you have to be careful when you're doing this because sometimes it will twist up on you. So there's one, lay that down and grab a second one from the big strand. Now you'll line these 2 up next to each other, their ends. And thread both ends together through the tail of the needle. This helps if you pinch it close to the end of the strands and then just wiggle your needle over it. And the threads usually come right through. Another trick you can do is to trim off the very end so you got a nice fresh end to push through the needle. Now once you've got it threaded, you're going to tie a knot on the other end. And your thread and needle is ready to go. So now that we've got our needle threaded and ready to go, we're going to start stitching. So I'll show you the most basic embroidery stitch, which is called back stitch. You can use it to trace along the outline of the letters and along the outline of the heart. And you can use any colors. And then I'll show you some other decorative stitches that you can use to fill in some other places. But for the back stitch, you're going to start with your threaded needle with the knot at the end and go in from the back side of the fabric. So you move your needle around until you get to the point where you want to start. And you come up through the back until you run into the knot. And for the back stitch, first thing you're going to do is go down back into the fabric. And then you're going to come up a little ways down from where that first stitch was made. Come back up and then go back down into that where the first stitch ended. And then you just keep traveling down your line with the back stitch. Now some tips while you're stitching. You don't want to pull the thread too tight, as it'll cause the fabric to pucker. And when you're going around curves like this, you'll want to make your stitches a little bit smaller so that you can define the curves. But otherwise, keep your stitches as uniform in length as possible to keep your embroidery looking neat. Alright, so when you're ready to tie off your thread, this is either when you run out of the thread, you need to tie it off, or if you want to switch colors, all you do is from the back side, run your needle under a thread that has already been established until there's just a small loop left, and then go through that loop to tie it in a knot. You can do that a couple times to secure it. And then you can just take your scissors and trim. If you want a great way to learn some other embroidery stitches, you can check out the library's free database, Creative Bug, with your library card. To get there, start from our library's website, ebrpl.com. Click the digital library at the top. Sort by A to Z list. Click C for Creative Bug, click the link, and you'll need to enter your library card number. And then you can search up here at the top for embroidery classes. There's all kind of different classes, but my personal favorite for beginning and learning different stitches is this one right here, Daily Embroidery Challenge, Stitch a Day by Rebecca Ringquist. So as you can see from this sampler, she'll go over a whole bunch of different stitches in her course. And you can even click the chapters right here to click on the different types of stitches. She starts with the running stitch, back stitch, and these are just different types of designs that you can use to fill in your embroidery. All right, once you've finished embroidering your design, it's time to finish the hoop. And you have several options for this. You may want to actually take your fabric out of the hoop and frame it in a regular picture frame. If you want to paint your hoop, you can do that. You can take it off, paint your hoop, or stain it, and then put your design back in it. But I'm just going to leave mine with the raw wood and show you how you can finish your fabric inside of the hoop to make it ready for framing or hanging on the wall. So you're going to need a piece of thread long enough to go around the entire circle, and we're going to flip the design over and go ahead and thread your needle. And you do not need to tie a knot this time. So you're going to start by going, we're going to be basically doing a running stitch all the way around, about 1/2 inch outside of the hoop. And you're going to leave a long tail from your starting point. So we'll just go in and back up and pull it through, and you're going to leave this tail hanging out right there. And then just go all the way around, making a long running stitch. Back in and out. All right, now that you've made it all the way around, you're going and you'll take your needle off the thread and you'll just have both tails hanging down at the bottom. Grab your pair of scissors and you're going to trim about another 1/2 inch away from where you've just made your running stitch. Be careful not to cut these. All right, now that you've got it trimmed and you've got your tail ends here, you're just going to slowly pull. Do this kind of gently so you don't pop the thread. And then tie a knot. And then trim these tails. And if you've got an iron at home, you can take your iron and run it quickly over the back to push these folds down. But other than that, you are done. I hope you enjoyed this video, and don't forget to fill out the survey to be entered into the monthly raffle. Thanks for watching.